Okay, and everyone can hear me okay, right? Okay, hold on 1 second. So now more than ever, computing devices are becoming an integral part of our daily lives. In fact, a recent study showed that the average smartphone user spends about 77 minutes per day on their phone. As a person working in a technology-related field, it's part of my job to evaluate new technology and determine whether it has a place in the business environment. Because of the high cost of new smartphone devices, as well as the average 2-year contract a user has to sign, it's important that we understand the advantages and disadvantages that Android devices and iOS devices have. After some research and testing, it's my belief that Android devices are much better suited for a larger audience than iOS devices. During this presentation, I'll be covering the advantages and disadvantages of both in order to help you make a more informed decision on which device you should choose. First, let's take a look at some of the advantages of the iPhone and iOS devices. One of the advantages of iOS devices is the frequency of updates and new features. Since its creation in 2007, Apple's released 12 iOS version updates, and that's approximately 2 per year. Because Apple only has to release software updates for a few different devices, it makes for a much more uniform experience between any Apple device, be it an iPad, an iPod, or an iPhone. Apple's also done an excellent job of integrating their devices using iCloud, which means the data can easily be synced between your phone, your desktop, and an iPad or other Apple device. Apple also holds a slight advantage in the number of apps that are available on the apps marketplace, and they enforce really strict standards on what kind of apps can be sold in their apps marketplace. Now, iOS's main disadvantages are hardware related. First, they have no memory expansion capability. In fact, the only option available is the storage size that you get when you buy them, which is either 8, 16, 32, or 64 gigabytes. Another disadvantage is that there are less carrier options available for iPhones. The biggest flaw that I've found with the iPhone is it has no removable battery. So if your battery goes bad, it requires special tools to replace it, and often there's additional charges involved as far as labor for somebody to replace the battery for you. Now, there's several features of Android devices that set it apart from the iPhone. The first advantage is the integrated GPS with turn-by-turn navigation that's included in the Android operating system. The iPhone requires third-party apps for GPS. Android also offers more web browser options and fully supports Adobe Flash and other plugins that are required to view some types of web content, which Apple's Safari browser does not. Most new Android devices also support 4G, which, as you can see from the graphic, means faster network and download speeds, as well as wireless tethering for laptops and other devices. The largest advantage Android holds is the massive variety of devices available. With Android, user can decide on options such as cost, screen size, keyboard versus touchscreen, the amount of internal memory storage, and battery life, and other accessories. Now, Android's main disadvantage is caused by the wide variety of devices that are available. Because there are currently well over 100 Android-based phones on the market, the uniformity of the user interface between devices creates a significant learning curve for users to overcome when changing devices or carriers. According to ABC News, Android currently holds 68.1% of the smartphone market versus 16.9% for the iPhone, and that's from November 2012. Because Android needs to appeal to such a large audience, it's hard for developers to specialize the features of the devices as well as Apple can. Android operating system version updates are rarely released for phones that are already in the marketplace, which makes it difficult for users to take advantage of the latest and greatest updates that are available unless they get new hardware. So, in conclusion, I have to admit the choice of phone for an individual is an inherently personal decision. With the much awaited release of the iPhone 5, Apple may well win many of the users that have switched to Android back. Or perhaps Microsoft, making their move into the smartphone market, will all opt to switch to Windows-based devices. It's a wonderful thing about technology. It's constantly changing and evolving to meet the needs of the consumer. So with that, that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed and it was informative for you. And thank you very much.